Not,
Yeah.
It's recording you, not us.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Okay.
it's recording me only. So, this is the class number 5 on marriage. Um, so, it's interesting that we, technically, we should all have a PhD in being married. While being married is much harder than being a doctor. It's much harder than being anything. We should all have at least a BA in being married. But what's a BA? A BA takes 2 years. Who spent 2 years, right? 2 years of, do you remember 2 years of college with learning and essays and tests? Who'd spend 2 years really learning about marriage? Right? No, nobody. Unless someone is learning to be a marriage counselor. Actually, one of the reasons I became a marriage coach is because I wanted to learn more about my marriage, and it just happened that I like it so much now I want to share. but what happened? We live in a home. Most homes are dysfunctional, or at least they're not. Even if they're not dysfunctional, there's rarely passion, right? And that's one of the big mistakes I think people make. They think of a Jewish home relationship. Okay, it's love, it's nicely, but no. Why does passion has to be just for the movies? Right? The real passion between husband and wife has to exist in the home. We want that. God describes our relationship with Him as passion, fiery love, very intense desire for each other. So why we don't do it at home? So when we get married, the only thing we teach, at least by Judaism, at least in Judaism, there's actually something called Chatan and Kala classes, where you learn a few classes on how to. Actually, most of the time they teach just the laws of Nida and how the relationship is supposed to be in when the woman is Nida. But really, it's much more than that. The whole idea is that we're supposed to, Khatan Kala teacher, learn about what's a healthy relationship and how to increase the love and how to increase the bond, and how, especially the Jewish way. So we have some 4, 5, sometimes 10 hours of Khatan and Kala teachers, right? Khatan and Kala classes, sorry. And
that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like intense.
No, the max is
a BA or something.
The max I've heard is that the woman usually has 10 classes. Usually men is like 5, 6 classes. But most of the issues is low. There's very few explanation beyond that. But that's not enough. That's like, when I'm getting married and I learn a few hours like that a little bit before marriage, and I would expect that now they're going to live happy ever after, it's going to be beautiful. It's impossible. It doesn't work like that. So really, technically, we should spend 2 years, at least a minimum a BA of learning and really so on. Master would be better, but ideally a PhD. But really, marriage is your whole life. Your whole life you're going to be married. I'm married 13 years now, and I'm still working on marriage. I'm still learning, taking classes for myself. I give myself classes, right? So to speak. When I teach, I'm speaking to myself. So it's very important. And if a couple gets married and never go to work on their marriage, you can be assured that unless they're exceptional and they grew up in homes that are very perfect and awesome, it's rare that the marriage is gonna be very special. But hi. So it's very important. Now that was a little small introduction, but really the past two times we were doing the questions that we do when we're dating. So we did number 9 last time, and now we're up to number 10. Actually, I don't have this really 13, but I changed the question, but I don't have the original question. But it's about the same thing. So question number 10. Oh, I know where I have those questions listed on Facebook. Yeah, that's where I put it.
I was an avid fan.
Good.
First time.
Okay. So blah blah.
Because I wanted to add more questions. Like, what about that?
Yes, that'd be good. You should add more questions. Okay, where am I going? Yeah.
careful what you wish for, right?
Yes. Okay. So here you are. Where are the dice? The dice. Oh, yeah, the dice. Okay. So last time we said what's the role of men and women in marriage. Now we're up to number 10. What is, in your opinion, the most destructive character trait in marriage? Destructive.
Oh,
Destructive
Greed.
characteristic. Within the marriage or within the individuals?
No, I mean it's definitely something bad, but not
something
this one.
that breaks the marriage, you mean?
So yeah, the
that-
character trait that can be the most destructive in a relationship, especially in marriage.
Insecurity.
No, I mean you're all right, they're all bad, but this one that is the most.
Compromising?
No, compromising is a good thing.
Depends on the definition.
Like self-involvement.
No.
Be selfish.
Unfaithfulness.
Okay, it's connected to.
Right?
Well, I'm
Chedaiga,
careful.
it's
Like
like-
that's
oh, sorry.
that's like there's no marriage anymore.
Well, if you compare like a Jewish marriage to our relationship to Hashem, right? And Chedaiga was like the number
Right.
one thing, and that was like us cheating on Hashem. So,
Right.
what's worse than that?
No, you're right. I mean that's given. But
No
I-
trust?
Yeah, that's like
well, that's connected to that.
insecurity, right?
No, I think even more than that. I mean, trust it's a foundation for love. It's necessary. But I think the character that is the most destructive when I see it's really anger,
Oh, well, yeah.
and the anger comes from ego. If two couples really work on their anger, and they truly when they discuss things and they deal with things, they don't get angry, and they learn to speak with at least soft voice or listening and trying to understand, then you can resolve most of the issues, even the trust issues or that. Because that's, if you cannot have a normal conversation and there's always one that is going to be defensive and then you're never going to get to deal with greed or with trust or everything that you mentioned, right?
Oh, I said I have a question. I don't know if you
Oh,
want
yeah,
to
I love
finish
questions.
it.
Sure.
So I've heard like multiple people say that you have to have a fight. If you don't have a fight, then that's an abnormal relationship. I'm not saying
Right.
that. So how does that fit into not being
Okay.
angry? Like,
No.
how can you fight without anger?
Right.
Or
Exactly.
passion,
Exactly. Right. So
Like,
it's true that the more passion you have, the more you're prone to have a fiery fight. But the whole idea is that yes, when you go in marriage, that I tell actually one of my first classes where I released the 14 most important thing to know about for marriage. So one of the things is that the first thing you have to know is that when you're gonna start your marriage, you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have issues. They're excited about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, but and that's exciting. Yeah, but that's normal. It's actually the art of fighting. Meaning, it's really not. You can fight without being angry.
yeah.
Right? And the whole idea is that when problems comes, a problem it's an opportunity for bringing more love. So I call it the art of fighting. If you know how to fight the right way,
Yeah.
then you can use every fight as an opportunity to bring more love in the marriage.
It's how you're able to handle it.
Right.
Right.
And it's actually Rabbi Sheffer speaks a lot about it in his seminar on marriage, that we constantly what's the real issue in all the fights? People say, oh, it's this, it's that. No, it's the fight itself. Just that you're fighting. If you don't fight, you can resolve things. So we have to learn to be diplomatic, so to speak. Right? Even on TV, people make effort, like the politicians. Well, they get angry sometimes, but they try to, at least fake that they're not angry and to control themselves, as they're on TV or whatever. When you're with your spouse, you have to fighting. The moment you fight, you know you lose. Actually, the moment there's anger,
Right.
you're gonna lose anyway.
But what if that's your natural reaction? Like, are we meant to suppress that?
It's
obviously a midah that
have to learn
Rambam
to-
says you're supposed to
right.
be on the total
You have to
opposite.
learn, right? You have to learn to direct it. Sometimes, let's say you start getting angry at something. Say, start getting angry at something, and so go downstairs in your bed, take your pillow, scream "ah" on your pillow,
Right.
and then come back. Okay, what we're speaking about, right? Meaning, each one has to learn how to direct the energy, the
Yeah.
anger, and the thing, and then but being aware of that, it's so important to be aware that anger, and where does anger come, right? The ego. Anger and ego comes from the fact that we are, I get angry because I don't accept what's happening in front of me. I disagree with God, right? Where it says, everybody who gets angry is as if he does avodah zarah. Why? Because you're saying what's in front of me, I don't accept. And what is in front of me is Hashem's world, right? So if something goes against me, and you say that's not part of God's world, then you're really doing like avodah zarah. So the thing is to try to understand, if I have this issue, this problem, that means I'm meant to resolve it and to learn from it. Now, before, I was thinking in the past, let's say my wife, right, is very sensitive, like 99% of the women, right? And I saying something, and then she did become so emotional, so upset, or so sad because I said something. So I'm telling myself, okay, why is this happening to me? Like, what did I do wrong in my that's how people, what did I do wrong in my previous life that now, right? What is it that I had to fix? Right? That used to be my original reaction, right? No, my original reaction was, what's the problem with you? Yeah. Right? No,
what's wrong with you?
Right, what's wrong with you? That's completely wrong.
Well, yeah.
Then that, because if you start like that, you already lost. Then I say, okay, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Why do I deserve that?
Is
right?
that the normal reaction that you're supposed to have?
No.
I hope
no. That's the
what's
normal
wrong
thing
with
that
you?
people have. That's the normal thing that people have. But the right reaction, the third step, is coming to realization, like, what is it that I'm supposed to learn in order that this doesn't happen? Yeah, it's very rare. It took me 13 years. I mean, at least 10 years. But and then you say, okay, and that's why I understood. Really what's happening is that because of my wife, now I have to transform myself into a being that is super sensitive.
Right.
And I become a being that is super sensitive, then anyone in my relationship, I will learn that everyone, my word, everything I do can affect the person, can hurt the person, and can. So I have to really learn to be a super sensitive guy. And that's amazing. It's like, wow, that's my training ground to learn to be super sensitive, which changes everything. That makes the thing. It's nothing that's wrong with her. There's nothing that's wrong with me.
Right.
It's really that we are here to improve. We're here to grow. And she was designed for me to become like that. Yeah.
What if you know 100% she's wrong?
It doesn't matter.
You should still think that way.
Yeah, you should still think that way, because this is what I have to work on. Now, the fact that she's sensitive doesn't matter whether she's right or wrong. She's still sensitive. If I hurt another human being, I'm accountable for that. Doesn't matter who is right or wrong. So, and the guy is always wrong. Sorry, guys.
That's just about the only thing.
This is a mantra that you have to learn.
It's scientifically proven.
You're a guy. You
We
say,
could
"I am
probably-
wrong." No, but the idea is it's not true that the guy is always wrong, but
Most of the time.
most of the time. Only a guy can say that. You can come from the woman's side. No, but it's the guy's job to learn to really create the balance and learn to understand the woman. It's not about who is right or is wrong, because there always needs to be a balance. And one mistake at the end is, even if one is wrong, is do you really show love? Do you really care? If you're able to really show that you love the person, it's not anymore about right or wrong. It's about caring.
What's the woman's job then? She's also technically supposed to think that way.
Right. So the woman, how are you? The woman also is supposed to make sure that she allows room for. She should not get upset also. Right? She knows she's emotional, she knows she's sensitive, so she has to try to communicate that to him in a way that is not violent, or in a way that is not no, violent like
Me? Why? That's racist.
that she makes him understand that she has to share her feelings basically in a way that he can understand it.
Right.
And,
Bring it down.
and
Yeah.
right.
Just saying.
In emotional, guys are, again, like, guys are always very intellectual, women more emotional, and it's very hard when there is a fight or there's anger to pass that thing.
Right.
You have to say, always speak for yourself. This is number one rule when in communication and relationship skills, speech. It's called the you, right? I feel. It's not you do this, right? You're terrible. That's no. I feel like this. I feel like that. Usually, if you speak like that, then you're not threatening the other. So you're threatening the other. It's anger.
But you're still saying you at the end. I feel like
Yeah,
you're...
yeah. But you're saying how you
No,
feel.
I feel when you blank.
when you.
Yeah.
I feel like this when you do
I feel
that.
you are.
It's
blank.
it's not focused on that. It's
Right.
not about how I'm feeling. And
I had
yeah.
another question.
Yeah.
It may be like too much, right? So you said in a previous shiur that the relationship between husband and wife is a reflection of our relationship with God, right?
Right.
So if we're, like the example you gave, you're meant to be in this moment so that you could be more sensitive, blah, blah, blah. Does that mean that there's a lacking of sensitivity in your relationship with God? Or,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
in that moment, you know what I mean? Like,
You-
the lesson that you're supposed to learn in
Right.
that moment, is that because that's the
First of
exact
all-
reflection that you're missing sensitivity with your relationship
Exactly.
with
Yes,
Hashem?
100%. Because everything around you is God.
Right.
Really, in the true
Right.
sense of the term, right? So
Right.
really, you're dealing with pieces of God, so to speak,
Right.
all around you, and you how you relating to God's creation, but really it's part of God.
Right.
There's only two things in the world: there's you and God.
Mhm.
Right? Everything else is just an illusion, but it's here for us to grow and thing, right? It's a deep concept,
Yeah.
but that's really the necessary understanding for us to understand that everything happens for a purpose, and everything in front of me is here to challenge me to grow and transform myself and become better and greater. Okay, so I really believe that anger, and which comes from the ego, from arrogance, is really the most destructive character trait, and the less we can get angry, the more we can be humble and patient and learn to listen, the less we'll be prone to get into fights and easy to resolve stuff. Okay, the next question is, what is the most important thing that one needs to constantly work on to make a good marriage work?
There's a lot.
Well,
There's a lot.
there's a lot.
Everything.
Understanding, listening, compromising.
Listening, humility,
Listening is a big thing.
arrogance,
Complimenting.
jealousy. Oh, sorry. Interrupting.
Well, actually, being grateful and having hakor satov. How do you say that? Yeah,
Gratitude.
gratitude.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So gratitude is one of the most important thing to work on. If you're grateful and you always recognize the other, it's always positive, and the other one feel love. But I will say, the most important thing,
Attention.
even though the most important thing is to be actively working on marriage. That's it.
Getting a postdoc.
That's it,
Yeah.
right? It's like you said with everything. You have to be in a mode that you all the time have to work on my marriage. If you come a year and say, "Oh yeah, we did those Shalom Bayit classes," it was like,
Or they say, I
that's it.
have no time.
Right. Well, yeah. So at the moment you're not actively working on your marriage, you're prone to what?
What if they do say, like, Gmar sure, this, that, the other, like, I don't have time. How do you don't want to take away from his learning, but it's pretty important. How do you...
From
Send
his
them to Rabbi
learning?
Gutmacher.
Yeah,
What
no,
type of learning?
I'm just saying, right? Like, say he's, like, working and he's learning a bunch of different lessons.
So you should
Like, how do you... no,
What do you
let's
say
go.
to him?
Like,
No, you have to tell him. First of all, working on marriage is more important than learning.
can you really say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's many rabbis.
From the
How would they
words,
read
There's many
from the
rab-
mouth of the rabbi.
No, I'm serious. There's many rabbis who,
Wow.
actually, I think a story with the Stipler was one of the very big rabbi who the wife went to complain to the stapler that it's difficult home and the husband is not really helping. So the stapler spoke to the husband and said, why can't you are you helping your wife, you're taking out the garbage? And he said, oh, but I'm this is difficult for me, I'm learning, and it's holy work, and I'm not gonna go out learning to take out the garbage or whatever. So the stapler said, okay, no problem. So the stapler went himself to take out the garbage.
Oh my God! To show him how important.
Right, to show him how to do it. So
you're gonna take out the
there's
So
no,
you're allowed to stop learning to go throw out the garbage,
100%.
of course.
You're learning. First of all, learning is only. Okay, let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Okay, a very famous rabbi posek in Israel. He passed away. He was one of the biggest. So he said at the funeral of his wife, I don't have to ask any forgiveness to my wife. It's very strange. Like, what do you mean no forgiveness? And so my rabbi went to ask him, what do you mean you don't have to ask forgiveness to your wife? You think you're perfect, so to speak, right? And he said, because he will not do one thing without the consciousness that the reason why I'm able now to be learning and teaching is only because of my wife. And that means I cannot do something outside that in Judaism at the expense of my wife, especially if I don't do it the right way. Meaning, if my wife is home with the kids, taking care of the kids, and I go daven, and I go pray, and my prayer is not, it's not a real prayer. It's like blah, 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 blah. Then you at the expense of your wife working hard with the kids, all that. You are having a thing like spraying a little bit like that, and not taking that seriously at the expense of your wife, taking making the hard work. It's unjustifiable, right? So, meaning that first of all, anybody who learns, it's only the wife has to agree with that, and it has to be something that the wife also wants. You can learn and say. And your wife.
I meant sorry to like someone who's he's working, but say he's also learning, setting aside time to learn.
Right.
So you're saying either way it doesn't matter.
Either way, right? It doesn't matter.
No excuses.
No excuses. If
your
your wife is, no, but that's my big
Excuses
rule.
for the guy, he's saying.
Right. If you ask the wife, are you happy?
Are you happy or are you okay with it?
Well, if she's not okay with it, she's not happy.
Right.
Are you happy with the situation?
Yeah.
If she says no, God is not going to be happy about whatever the guy is doing.
Right.
Now we're talking about normal women.
Right.
So
Because
basically
There's
everything
always
depends on the
this.
wife.
You can't be too extreme. Okay, you can't go. But in general, we're saying that you want to know if God is going to be happy with you. It has to do with the way the wife is. Okay, so it's very important that, and that's why there has to be a constant communication about. No, I really need you home now with the kids. I really need you home for this or for that.
Yeah.
But I have to learn. It's very nice. You have to learn, but your wife is first, and then your wife will want you to learn anyway, and she's going to be ready to sacrifice time alone with the kids and the hardship for you to learn, right? But you can take advantage of that, and it has to be okay with her too. So I really think that one of the most important thing that one needs to constantly work on is really working on marriage, being in a mode of actively working. That I constantly need to be working on my marriage. And that's remember that the first class I said you're created for that. Everything in the world is all about creating unity, right? We're created to become one with God. You create your whole life is learning to become one with another human being, your spouse, So that's the purpose of creation, unity. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, right? It's all about becoming one, becoming Echad. Echad is love. Ahava is the gematria Echad, 13. Right? It's at the end. That's what it is. So your spouse is there for that, and Ve'ahavta lirecha kamocha, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. That's the big rule in the Torah, right? Because all about learning to be one. We can receive the Torah if you're not one. There's no Shalom Bayit. There's no God. There's no Shechina, right? I mean that's the Chazal says that straight. There's no Shalom Bayit. So no God. You want God, you need your wife, right? So that's very important. Number 12.
Is that the same thing with your parents?
What?
Would that be the same thing with your parents?
In which sense? You mean
The shalom bias.
between you and your parents?
Yeah, or you and your kids.
Yeah, I mean that's also very important. Yeah, if you're in a constant, it depends. Yeah, if there's a lot of disrespect, usually it's like that. If there's usually a good relationship with the wife, with the kids, it's rare that it goes sour. Doesn't mean there's no tension on that, but if you really have a good, loving relationship, it's rare that the kids will have a strong fight with the parents. The kids who feel the love between their parents, they usually not cause too many problems.
I actually heard it on the radio like yesterday. Yesterday they were talking about it.
Oh, but
Yeah, if the family always like let's say fights and there's like trouble in the family, it grows up like that. If there's like a home, like
right.
his abilities
That-
are
right.
incredible.
That's why more the kids who come from divorced home are much more prone to create divorce also. But it's yeah. Anyway, so that we have to learn in our marriage. It's probably that's why it's so important to we want to raise good kids and want to be good parents. We want to be a good parent. Show to your kids what real love. The kids who feel the love between the parents, they usually happy. They're much more. Doesn't mean they don't. There's no problems. There's always some little problems. They're kids, but they will usually be happy. Next question is: once you get married, who comes first and second in priority? Parents, husband and wife, the spouse, or the children?
Husband and wife. Oh.
Wait, say that again. Say
Spouse.
the spouse.
You have the children, you have the spouse, and you have
The parents.
the parents.
Spouse.
Spouse.
Right.
But how about the mitzvah kibbut aim?
No, it's usurped.
No,
if your
so
husband says, I don't want to see
Number
your...
one is the spouse. Once you get
I know
married,
the answer is the spouse. I was
Spouse,
asking a question.
children.
How about the
Wait.
mitzvah
So-
why does the spouse take precedence over the mitzvah kibbut aim?
okay, because she's depending on you completely. The parents don't depend on you. The spouse is depending. You need each other. Without each other, you can't create your own life. You need each other to be able to create your own children and to have a life. Your parents, you're not anymore depending on them, and they're not depending on you anymore, right? But it's still a matter of respecting, knowing where you come from. Understand that the whole mitzvah of kibud avim, of respecting the parents, is essentially only to learn to respect God. Because you remember in the 10 Commandments, there's the 5 commandments between man and God, and the 5 commandments between man and man, right? They parallel each other. And the 5th commandment is, right, between the spouse, how to respect kibud avim, kibud avim, to respect the parents, and that's part of man and God, right? So why do we need parents? Adam and Chava didn't have parents, they come from God. The only reason we need parents is to understand what it means to be the son of God, or the child of God, right? To be the child of God, that those parents, what they did, they fed you, they protected you, they clothed you, they brought you life. Oh, now I can understand what it means to come from God. That I'm the child of God. When you say Avinu Malkeinu,
A lot of people don't realize that until they have their own children.
right, yeah,
You don't realize what your parents really did for you until
right,
you have your own
exactly,
kids.
and that's why we need to experience that. That's why we
And
need
you
to
have to do
experience
it.
that. We need to
Right,
be.
that's
We
what I'm
need
saying,
to
that's what
be
people realize.
parents. We need to be father and mother in order to experience that. There's
So-
a difference. One, you experience being a child, and then you experience what the parents feel towards the child. That's why you understand the full relationship between you and God.
What about when you have children then? Who comes first, your spouse or your
So,
children? 'Cause
very
they're
good
more
question. So that's
dependent on you.
that's even more attention. Now, what I say that the spouse come before the parents or the in-laws applies also by Buchayans and Sfardis.
Everyone.
Well, yeah.
Everyone. And then, no, I'm serious. Let's remember that it's one of the big problems. Like I almost literally have every week.
Maybe you should say it
You
again.
mean in the Bukhari community?
Yeah,
More
more than
than
Sfardim and Buchanan especially. The number one reason, it's one of the last questions, number one reason by divorce by Buchanans are the in-laws.
Yeah.
Number one reason for divorce. Number one reason. It's not communication, it's the in-laws.
80%,
Right?
yeah.
So it's very important. Because the kivud aviem, right, the respecting the parents is so extreme by Sfardim, right? So extreme that it pushes them, comes first
But
before
you
the.
can respect them without listening to them.
Yeah,
But
not
then
nonsense.
they will
No,
not
because respect doesn't mean you
Yeah.
have to listen to them.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
I'm
right. So,
saying
yeah, it
to
depends.
respect your parents doesn't necessarily mean you have to go do everything they say, and they don't like
Right.
depend on you.
No, you
Right.
could
It
do whatever they
depends
say.
on-
You just do what your wife says first.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't
No,
have
no,
to-
You have
I'm
to,
just
you have
saying,
to
I'm just saying,
right.
respect doesn't have to do with like their